Talk and Rock Radio, where friends meet at the intersection of life, inspiration, and music. Here's your host, Rick Kern.
Welcome, everyone, to Talk and Rock Radio. Today's episode is with three guys that are really special to me. They're El Paso musicians that go way back, quite a few years. We're going to talk about the band Westwind. We have the original bassist for the group, Paul Quattlebaum, as otherwise known as Mr. Q, Paul Q. And we have that covers the bass. We've got also guitarist John Anderson and Rick Armstrong. And these guys are still hitting it hard, man. They still play. They're some of El Paso's best. Welcome, guys. Glad to have you on Talk and Rock with us today.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir.
I thought what we do is kick this thing off with Paul, since he's kind of the oldest Westwind member, not in age necessarily, but as far as the original bass player that played with Westwind. The band was started in 1969, right, Paul?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about how it started and how you all came up with the name. I think you've got a story there somewhere.
Yes, and John could help me out. It's been 51 years now. All right, well, it started out, I was in the Army, AIT, and I started playing this band. Then John came into town, so we decided to start a band. He just got off the road. And so we were practicing with these two guys, which I won't say their names. And we had a practice with them. And both of them left. And John went to check on them. And he says they were shooting up in the bathroom. So John said, let's grab our equipment and go. So we left. And then we had a gig coming up, USO, right? Yeah, USO downtown El Paso. This is about 1969. And we didn't have a drummer.
Well, actually, both of those guys, we found out were playing, while we were supposed to be playing, they were playing out at the Free Holy.
Ah, okay.
So we didn't have any, the other two guys didn't show up at all. It was just me and Paul sitting there at the USO.
And then I told John, I know this real good drummer, David Miller. So we gave him a call and he showed up, and we played the first set and it sounded great. And then after the first break, we were outside sitting on the curb, if I remember right.
Yeah. And
we were talking about, well, what should we name the band tonight? And I think John said Mass Confusion. If I'm, this is a long time ago. And I said, okay. And so if I remember, we did a great job. We finished the gig, and then we decided to start a band, our own. And then David Miller said, well, I got my brother that plays drums, and Dennis Martin plays guitar. And then David said he's going to play keyboards. And I was kind of shocked. I said, this is a hell of a drummer, and he's going to play keyboards? Man, I tell you, he borrowed a Vox Jaguar with the Leslie from Mike Shank. And later he bought it, and we practiced. And I said, wow, this is going to be pretty good. And he learned faster than I've ever seen anybody learn on keyboards. And that was the beginning of Westwind. So go ahead, John.
Well, David at that time was playing in a group called Pax. He was playing drums for them, and he was kind of tired of that whole thing. And he had a truck with Pax written on the side. We used to call it the Pax van. So we used to practice at Ron Miller's house, David's brother. Yeah. Practicing in the garage. And he said, my brother plays drums also. And like Paul said, he wanted to be a keyboard player. And we started rehearsing. They knew Dennis. and brought Dennis into the fold, started rehearsing. And like Paul said, that was the start of it. You know, and I don't know exactly where Westwind, the name, came from. We were throwing out names and all kinds of stuff. There was a story in one of the newspapers once that somebody said, well, there's a wind blowing from the west. We're going to call it Westwind. And that was it. So however it may be, that's the story of the very beginning of Westwind.
Wow, that's cool. Do any of you all know where Dennis is these days?
He's in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you have his phone number?
No.
I think it was through Facebook. I had contacted him, or maybe an email. I may have it. I can get it to you. But I heard from him once, and we conversed one or two times, and that was it. And he never got back to me again. Well,
the year before that he started with you guys in '68, he was playing in my band, and it was that was a band that we called Masters of War. It was a short-term band, but it was with Pat Lowe. I don't know if you remember Pat Lowe on keys. He was a real good. He had a B3. I remember that part of the reason why I have a bad back was hauling that B3 up the steps at his parents' house, and he had double Leslies, really the big cabinets, and then we had Mike McGill on bass, David Lambeth on guitar, Dennis on guitar, myself, and Mike Wall, who was a DJ also, and but he was our lead singer. But Dennis, I've been trying to get hold of Dennis for years, and I've reached out to Barry before, and he's never really given me, the number or anything. I don't know if for what reason, or if that was even, something that he didn't have at the time or whatever. I don't recall, but it would be nice to talk to him again. We go way, way, way back. At the beginning with Westwind, where were you guys playing mainly? What were you playing, clubs yet, or were you playing, after game dances, or what?
In the very beginning, we were playing downtown El Paso a lot. At that time, if you remember, the military here, it was a huge training base, and so the military invaded downtown on the weekends. And so there was lots of clubs downtown that we used to play. Matter of fact, we would play in the club called the Gold Rush. I don't know if you remember that club. We would play the Gold Rush in the afternoon, starting at 12.
Oh, wow.
Play until 4, take all our stuff out, and we'd actually cart it down the street, down South El Paso Street to the Copacabana, go down those stairs and play the night shift.
Wow. Do you all remember downtown a club called the Golden Gate?
Oh, yes.
We played there.
Isn't that the one that had the steps that went down? You had to walk down a flight of steps to get to it. And then they did have kind of a big bridge thing where the go-go dancers would dance up there. Yeah. I remember playing there. I don't remember which group it was, but it was a pain getting the equipment down. I remember that. Wasn't too bad for the guys carrying their twin reverbs or whatever, but getting down there with once again, the B3 or whatever, it was killer. But,
that's what it was at the Copa. That one picture you saw with Dennis and everybody that I sent you, that one had a spiral staircase, and David had the big Hammond organ, and we would have to carry it down that spiral staircase, and generally it was like leaning on your head.
Wow. Now, Dave, yeah, go ahead.
The owner from the Copacabana that was there, I ran into him a couple of months ago. He's 94 years old.
Wow.
He looks great.
Is he still in the club business?
Oh, no.
I was going to say probably not. Not too many of them around anymore. Yeah. Back in 1972. Now, before Rick joined the band, you guys, I see, Paul, you ended up going to Korea, right? You were in the Westwind group for a short period of time because you were in the military, right?
Right, almost a year, I think, and then I got levied to Korea. I was going to Nam, but since I had 2 MOSs, they sent me to Korea.
Okay, that's interesting.
All the guys in the band came to the airport to see me off. That was a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, and in 72, ironically, in 69, when that group was formed, was the same year that I formed my group with Jim Reese from Bobby Fuller and Gail Hageman, Dick Greco, and Joe Alvarez and myself, and we were musicians, except for Jim. We were musicians at UTEP. Musicians. We were students at UTEP in the vocal department. That's where we all met. But it was pretty cool because I played 6 nights a week at the Knights Club for 3 of the 4 years that I was in college. The last year I was playing with a band called Macadamia out at the Red Flame, and but what I found interesting, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is that I had forgotten that Westwind became the Knights Club house band after our band, after there for 3 years. I guess we were there for 3 years as the house band, but I had forgotten that Westwind became the new house band at the Knights Club, which is really cool. I noticed. Yeah, go ahead.
We were a halftime house band. We played Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and the 6th column played the other nights.
That's what I was going to say. The 6th column had a long stint there also. Now, did you guys ever bounce over to the Jet Set also, which was also owned by Jerry Wolf Restaurants, who owned the Knights Club? Okay.
I played there with other groups, but never in Westwind.
Yeah, we had most of the time we were there 6 nights a week, but then part of the time we would do 3, and then we would jump over to the Jet Set and do 3 over there, and then Sunday nights off. But I found something interesting yesterday that Rick had told me about the Texas Monthly, about El Paso music scene, the club music scene. Rick, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
At one time, the Knights Club was named the most successful bar in Texas as far as being a moneymaker and being packed every night.
Yeah, it was a neat club. Bud Nichols was a great manager. He really did a good job with the place. And you're right. I mean, it was packed every night. I mean, and when you think about it, back in those days, it was probably, at that time in '69, it was probably the only club that had entertainment 6 nights a week. There was a lot of weekend clubs, but I think, it wasn't until later that you really started seeing when liquor by the drink started, because back even then at the Knights Club, you had to be a member to be able to get in. Now, that was easy. All you had to do was pay like $15 and you were a member, and they gave you a card. But they had to, abide by the LCB, Liquor Control Board rules and everything, and that was how it was, liquor by the drink. But it was a neat place. We always had good crowds. We had good following there, and they always had good entertainment. He would bring in special people like Joe Renteria, who would play every once in a while. And I remember there was one show called Bobby and Misty, who was a traveling husband and wife team. They were really good. But John, I'm going to ask you to share some interesting stories that took place with Westwind back in the day. Can you?
just to refresh a little bit of the timeline, when Paul left, we went through, we weren't sure what we were going to do. And at that time, Sam Stevenson, who you played with also, Sam Stevenson had come in the group. So Sam and I decided we would switch back and forth on bass and guitar. One said I'd play bass, he'd play guitar. One said he'd play bass, I'd play guitar. And we just kept it as a 4-piece for a while. And then kind of played all kinds of different places. Then there was a myriad of changes. There was a gentleman named Jim Kimmich who came in and played bass. I don't know if you remember Jim or not. He was in the band for a while. But it went through multiple changes until we got to the final editing, I call it, of Rick and myself, Jeff Murray on bass, and then the Miller brothers on drums and keyboards. That was the essence of Westwind that actually started touring, moved from the Knights Club over to the Smugglers Inn, and the Smugglers, that became the other place, like the Knights Club was, that lines out the door. And it was wonderful. But as far as stories, I mean, there are so many. We went to Greenland, and in Greenland, I don't know if you've ever been there, but I don't know why they call it green, because it certainly is not. But It's just ice caps, just covered ice caps. When you're coming in for landing, you don't see anything until you all of a sudden see a runway. And then you come out. We were getting out of the plane, and we just had our coats from here. We didn't know from anything. They said, bring your heaviest coat. Well, in El Paso, you bring your heaviest coat, it ain't much. So we look out the window of the plane, we see these guys with these parkas and all this kind of stuff, but they were unbuttoned and didn't look like much. So he told us, when you get out of the plane, don't touch your mustache or your beard. You get out of the plane, and we find out why. So our breath, everything froze. I mean, it just froze solid. If you touch it, you break it right off. You got out of the plane, and you felt like a popsicle. And they gave us parkas later on, but there were so many things that happened there. They had a big beacon, and everybody had to ride the beacon. And it was on top of this mountain, and you had to take a Jeep up to this mountain, ride the beacon. And we've got multiple pictures of all that kind of stuff. But there's so many things that happen, as you know, on the road. I mean, there are so many things. You become a family, and we were a family. And
John, that Greenland trip, I would call that the boys will be boys phase. Because remember, we drove across the U.S. first, and then flew to Greenland. We were gone at least 6 weeks, a couple of months. And I don't know, we were just silly. We went through a phase where we'd sneak up on each other and take a photo of somebody going to the bathroom or something like that. It was just, looking back, I don't know why we thought that was so amusing, but we had fun.
Unfortunately, we still have the pictures.
There was a lot of antifreeze up there.
I was gonna say it's refreshing to hear that other groups played tricks on each other and stuff besides just me and my bands. I did that with a couple of bands too, and some crazy stuff, and some I don't even want to talk about. But when you guys were traveling up in the north in the wintertime, I got to ask you, did you all have what they call the winter plug-ins in your vehicles? You know what those are?
Oh, yeah. To keep your engine blocked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, in my second road group called Tapestry, we were playing. Remember, we were going to go do a 2-night concert at the Glasgow Air Force Base in Glasgow, Montana. And we had, talk about snow and cold. I mean, geez. And when we got there, the lady that was ahead of the, where we were staying at her house and everything, and she was ahead of the NCO or whatever we were doing there at the Air Force Base. She said, now, do you all have winter plug-ins in your vehicles? And we're going, what's that? And she says, no, you've got to have those in your vehicles, because up here it gets below zero. And I mean, even if you have antifreeze, it can still crack the block on your cars. So the next day, all of us had our vans over at the local mechanic. They probably had a business going or something, every time they had a group come in there that didn't have a plug-in, they probably sent them over there, and she probably got a commission. I don't know. But we all had our vans there and had to put our what are you doing, Paul? I mean, what? Anyway.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm not going to tell you. Go ahead.
So we ended up getting our plugins put in, and that was totally new for us. We had no idea what that was all about, but it cost about $100 per vehicle to do it, and we were good to go after that. But I think that was the worst winter that group ever. Well, I can't say that. When we were up in Canada, we got some pretty cold stuff too. It was pretty miserable. How about you, Paul? What stories you got?
About what?
What are we talking about here? Anything that's entertaining.
Hey, Paul, talk about some of the way you had us booked.
About what?
About some of the way you had us booked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my mind was not where it belonged back in those days. And I used to get us booked at the Biggs EM Club, enlisted, whatever those guys were. And then the guy that booked us, some sergeant, because I was in the military, said, let's put Paul Q in Westwind. And I said, okay. And then after I got there and saw that, I said, uh-oh, what did I do? But David Miller.
The big poster as you walked in, Paul Q and his Westwind Band.
Yeah. And David Miller hit me, said something that was right on. He said, Paul's a little weird and strange, but he means well. And I never forgot that. And he was right. I'm still that way.
He called us one time and said, we were working with an agent very early on out of Las Cruces called Sun Talent Agency. And Sam Elliott, I think the guy's name was.
Sam. Oh, okay, yeah.
He had Paul was dealing with him, I guess. He had booked us, and Paul called us and said, "We got a booking. We're playing at Don and Anna's." And we said, at Don and Anna's. We said, "What the heck is that?" So we called Sam. He said, "No, you're playing at Doña Anna at the military."
Oh yeah.
Playing in Doña Anna at Don and Anna's, right?
Yeah, we're playing at Don and Anna's.
Well, there was a missed opportunity. Somebody should have opened up a club there and called it Don and Anna's.
Yeah,
that would have been great. You guys also played in Gallup, New Mexico. One of you, who told me that story yesterday? Was that you, Rick?
Well, are you talking about John's song?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being played on the radio. Yeah. John wrote a great song that was, immediately likable, and gave it to the local DJ there in Gallup. And one day they played it on the radio, and John happened to be driving around and heard it, all of a sudden pulled over and listened to it.
I got some music right now from a group from El Paso, and they're currently playing at the El Rancho here in Gallup on East Highway 66, and they'd like to invite you to stop in and see them at the El Rancho. Name of the group is Westwind. Now, they do come from El Paso, and the members of the group are John Anderson. He's a singer and guitarist, and also the gentleman who wrote the song that you're about to hear, Jeff Murray, Rick Armstrong, and the Miller brothers, David and Ron. And here's a song from Westwind called Our Time Has Come.
Music people, KYBA. You got what it takes to make my heart break, and I know you'll never leave me. When I take you home and we're all alone, you really know how to please me. Our time has come on, let's take it. I want to show you how we can make it. Look in your eyes, oh baby, you know they're driving me crazy. Oh, give me a chance, come take my hand. I want you, baby, with the little things you say and you do, girl. I want to show you how I love you. Come on, home with me, honey, forever.
Yeah. Where are you still writing?
Yes. I started writing again. I'm leaning more Americana and country, believe it or not.
Like America kind of stuff, Poco? What kind is it?
It's hard to say. The country thing sounds real. I have one country tune that everybody seems to like. I'm gonna try and record it. It's real two-step country, kind of wording wise, kind of current, whatever. A couple of the other tunes are more, I guess I would call them Americana. They're just different. I mean, they're what I want to say about things,
Sure. How about you, Rick? Are you writing any?
I'm still kind of an amateur songwriter. I've got about 20 songs out on the internet, and I've got some fans. And at the rate I'm making money on it, I'll be a dollar heir here pretty soon. But it's still it's nice to get an email from somebody from Japan or Norway saying, "I love your song," So I still enjoy doing it, but I'm just not willing to work very hard at it these days. I'm retired in a lot of ways. I still play live with, as you know, I play with Rod Crosby and the Intruders. an occasional live gig, and dabble at songwriting. But I also enjoy time off with my grandkids and taking trips with my wife, taking it easy.
I gotta share a quick story with you about one of your bandmates, Rick Benitez. And back in the day, when we got off the road in 78, we were on the road for 6 years. When we got back in 78, we had done our album, probably a couple years before in Cincinnati. And we never sold the album in El Paso. We had it strictly to sell off the stage when we were playing in, Tahoe and, the big showrooms and stuff. We had more of a souvenir album than anything, but it was stuff from our shows. And so anyway, we had a rule whenever our kids were staying at one of their friends for an overnight outing or whatever, or birthday party or whatever, we would always want to meet the parents, before we would leave them over there. And so anyway, our daughter was going to the birthday party. And so I took her and we walked up to the door, rang the doorbell, and this guy answers the door and he says, "I know you." And I said, "I know you." And I hadn't realized that I was taking my daughter to Camille Benitez's birthday party. I didn't really pay any attention to the last name, but when Rick answered the door, he says, "I know you." And I said, "I know you." And he said, "And I have your album." And I said, "What? You have my album?" And he said, "Yeah, I think I found it at the Goodwill store." And I'm going, I think that's where he found it. I don't know. It was either him or Sam that said they got it at the Goodwill store. I thought it was Rick, because we never sold the record locally, so I have no idea how it got into the Goodwill. Obviously, it didn't have a very long life with whoever's collection it came from, because it ended up at Goodwill pretty quick after they bought it. But that was kind of funny, And I didn't get my royalty of 10 cents off of that $2 he probably paid for it at the Goodwill store.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Ricky Benitez.
Yeah.
About 1967, something like that. Him and I worked together at the A&W over on Coronado off of Thunderbird.
Uh-huh.
So I knew him a while. And then I do some writing too. I write my nephew, Tommy Houston. He's an AIT in the Army.
Now you just need to put some tunes to it, Q.
Yeah.
That'll work. Yeah, that's what you need to do, man. Just put some words to it and you might have a hit song there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So tell me about who you're playing with these days, Paul. Are you still got Blackjack going?
Yeah, I've been with them. We've been together since 2012. George Teixeira and I, we've gone through many drummers, but we have one that's been sticking around for a while, a few years, Albert. And we've been playing mostly blues rock, touch of country, a little bit of classic like Hendrix and Doobie Brothers. And we're both about the same age. George is 73, I'm 72, and I can't believe I'm still playing. It's amazing.
Yeah, you guys... He's really good too. I really like his voice. He's got a real unique, graspy, gravelly, really just great voice for singing blues and stuff, man. A guy is so good,
Yeah.
And you're not half bad yourself, so.
Let me interject there. I saw Paul recently. His band played up in Tiburon, and I really enjoyed it. They're great.
Great. Yeah, they are
Ricky.
good. They played the Border Legends show. I've booked them. Well, remember that deal we did down at for the school teachers, Paul?
Yeah, John was with us too.
Yeah, that was God, that was what, 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, man. I don't even think we were awake for that one. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, John was there also.
Every once in a while, they had me jump in with them to do something. We did a benefit for the flag site a couple weeks ago. That was fun. It's like we stepped in and never missed a beat. It's strange.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, and I attribute that to the professionalism of you guys, because you're all active, you're all playing, and I'm always amazed. Like when we did the Border Legends, the 8 years that we did it, the bands, I guess the only one that didn't really do real great was Donna Pence and me with the Sacred Mushroom, because we weren't playing. I was doing okay, but I think Leffler, he had some difficulty with their song because he was concentrating on Terry Manning's songs, and who he also had backed up. But overall, I think the music was really quite good. Like even when the Chains played, the show, Blackjack. Everybody that played, the El Paso band. They were all good, they all, and I think because they still play in their church bands, or they're playing in, other groups and stuff, and staying active, keeping their chops going.
Well, our Full Circle band with John played there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was really good. Yeah.
I think Rick Armstrong should talk a little. We've been talking too much. It's all about us, Rick.
I know. Come on, Rick. Let's hear it, man.
Okay. One of the events that stands out in my memory, fond memories associated with it, is when we played in Lake Tahoe. It was just such a beautiful place, and we got to stay there, I think, a month or more. And we had time during the day. We did rehearse quite a lot, but we had time during the day to go see the sights and enjoy. It was just such a beautiful place. My fondest memory from Lake Tahoe is when my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, drove up from El Paso to meet with me in Lake Tahoe. And on the band's night off, we went to see B.B. King. He was playing in the bar there in the hotel. Not a real big room, and we got to sit right up real close in the front.
What year was that, Rick?
I think it was 1976.
Wow. So okay.
B.B. King was at the height of his game. He was great, and his band was great.
You remember the Sahara, of course. The Sahara was across the street from Harrah's. And
that's where we were, at the Sahara.
That's where we played. And did you play the juniper or the pine cone, or which one did you play? Pine cone.
Pine cone.
Yeah. They had us one night in the pine cone, and then the next 6 weeks we played in the juniper, which was the big one that overlooked the casino. And the night that we were in the pine cone, Johnny Jackson, the drummer for the Jackson 5, sat in with us. We'd already met him, and we were doing a song called "Enjoy Yourself" by the Jackson 5. Yeah. And Johnny sat in, and he was so good. But I remember it very, very vividly. He broke my snare drum that night. And you never break snare drums. That doesn't really happen. But I guess he was really playing hard, man. He was getting after it. So I had to. Huh?
The head or the drum?
Just the head. It just broke the head. That's all it was. So I took, on the break, I went out to the van and got a new head and put it in and tuned it up real quick. But it was no big deal. But I remember the Sahara so well. It was a beautiful place. While we were there, Elvis was there, Fifth Dimension, Diana Ross, Jackson 5, Isaac Hayes. Those are the 5 main ones that I can remember. And the Jackson 5, they were so much fun. We partied with them and went to clubs with them. And I remember one night we were at an apartment, and there was a party going on. And anyway, there was some can I say recreational activity going on there, some smoking, and but the Jacksons weren't part of that. But others in the party were where we were at. And I had seen outside the apartment a bunch of cops that were pulling in and blocking cars out in the parking lot. And I'm going, oh my gosh, something's coming down here. They're busting this party or something. Anyway, I ran in and told Tito and Jermaine, I said, guys, there's a bust going on, you know, and so I was worried for them. And so they came out real quick, and it wasn't that party at all. It had nothing to do with what was coming down somewhere else. But that was one of those crazy moments that, you know, you just go, whoa, okay, this is fun, you know.
You got arms strong.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of times being up in Lake Tahoe. I mean, one time Helen Reddy was the headliner, but the one I remember the most is we were up there for New Year's, and Rich Little was the headliner.
Uh-huh.
And you know how you used to be able to eat down in the basement, you know, with the employees, you know, that's where you get, you know, we were on the elevator coming back up, doors open, and there's Rich Little dressed in full W.C. Fields. You know,
no.
He would do his one-time show of one person, and he was bombed. He was doing the New Year's show, and he was bombed.
Was he really?
Yes, yeah. But it was ideal to do W.C. Fields, I guess. You know?
When you guys were at the Sahara during the day, did you go down to the castle by the lake and everything? Did you go down and see the Viking castle? They had like a replica of a Viking castle made out of stones, and it was really, really cool down by the lake.
I don't remember the castle. We did go down to the lake. It
Yeah.
was so beautiful.
We were always impressed
So
by
clear.
how clean the lake was.
Yeah, you could see deep down because it was so clear, so clean.
I haven't heard lately what the situation is with the fire up there. I hope they're okay. I hope it didn't get into the casino areas. I know the pictures that I saw was devastating. It really, really looked bad.
The air is real bad.
Yeah. I was talking with a guy by the name of Stephen McClintock, who's a good friend of Dennis Rochford from the Spring Fire Band. And in fact, I'll be doing a show with Stephen. He lives in Long Beach. And he was telling me the other day about, no, it was Ciccarelli. Mike Ciccarelli was driving back from San Jose, I think, or somewhere seeing his mom. And but he had taken a trip through Lake Tahoe, and he said the air was just so bad you could hardly breathe. You know, it was just devastating.
Yeah.
Very sad.
It's bad enough here from all the stuff from over there.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. Do you guys notice at nighttime? I don't know if you run your air conditioner all night. We do in the summertime. But do you ever smell anything that it's almost like it smells like gas at times, you know? Are y'all getting any of that? I don't know if it's smoke or if it's pollution that's happening from the refinery or what. And we don't get it all the time. Maybe it's just when the wind's blowing a certain way and it hits our air conditioner or whatever. I don't know. But it's pretty funky.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, I wouldn't say what it is for sure, but there's something, and but our air quality here is really, really bad the past week and a half.
Yeah, I think some of the smoke and stuff from the Arizona fires and everything is getting to us. Anyway, the times that when you all were doing the Greenland tour and everything, Don Kanji was booking you at the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you say that Image International was probably your best agency for the bookings that you got, or would you say Sun was also good, or what did you like as far as the most popular agents that you worked with?
Well, Don seemed to have the best connections, truthfully. He seemed to have the best connections. We used to call him our dartboard manager, though, because unfortunately, seldom was it ever a play here and go on a place where you travel the trail that followed each other. It was play here and all of a sudden turn around and go way back and go play here, turn around. That's why he called it dartboard manager. It was like he was throwing at a dartboard. Here's where you're going to go.
Yeah, and that's very common with agents back in those days in the 70s and everything. My wife used to say you could take the heart of an agent and put it inside of a sewing thimble, you know, because invariably they would keep you in the wintertime up north and in the summertime down in Florida. It didn't make any sense. It's supposed to be the other way around, you know.
with Don Kanji, luckily, we were able to, lots of times we were able to stay in one place for a month.
Yeah.
And so we could really it wasn't so hectic. We could enjoy our days and do some sightseeing and just relax some, you know.
Yeah, that makes it nice when you can do that, and we always loved the resorts because that was the case. We would get maybe 2 weeks to a month there, and then some where they were just like 1 or 2 weeks, which we didn't have a whole lot of those. They were usually 2 weeks or so at least. Yeah. But I remember my very worst one. We were playing the Jackson, Mississippi Hilton, and we were closing on a Saturday night, and we had to drive from there to Erie, Pennsylvania. And we had that one night to get there. We had all the next day. But if you all remember the snowstorm, the Buffalo blizzard of 77 or 76, maybe it was 76, it was the worst. I had never seen 20-foot snow drifts before, man. When you go up the turnpikes up there, you have like 6 lanes going up and 6 lanes coming down. There was 1 lane going up and 1 lane coming back because of the snow so bad. They just kept one lane graded. But literally, there was so much snow, it was going all the way above the power lines. I'd never seen snow like that. When we got to the hotel, it was I can't remember, one of the big chains, Howard Johnson's. And we got there, and the snow literally was over the roof. I mean, you couldn't hardly see the hotel. It was just all snow. And man, I was one big bundle of nerves when I got there because of just holding on to the steering wheel, just trying to, keep it going, without getting stuck or spinning out or whatever. And we were seeing 18-wheelers jackknifing all over the place. It was a mess, Not good.
Tell me something. In the days when you were on the road, did you ever get turned away from a hotel?
I have. It said no musicians or dogs when I was on the road. That's true.
Yeah, we were on the road, and Rick, were we? It was traveling like Alabama, Tennessee, somewhere. But there was, in the hotel, there was 2 cars in the parking lot. That was it. Started walking up toward the door to go in. They closed the blinds, and they wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't serve us at all. Of course, really? Back in those days, we had fairly long hair and all that kind of stuff. And in that part of the country, we were already told be ready to expect something like that.
Yeah,
so I think we went through those kind of trials also.
The worst gig.
Story.
The worst gig I remember was in Calgary, Canada. Our agent that booked us there, she had put us in a room where they were used to having just basically rock bands playing dance music. And we weren't a dance band. We were a show band. And so, you can only play Proud Mary and Grand Funk Some Kind of Wonderful so many times a night. And so
I'm for that.
Well, yeah, man, but it's fine if you're in the right place, but we were not in the right place. And so it was the next day after that first night, I called the agent and I said, you have to get us out of here. This is not a good fit, not for them, not for us. And I guess the first clue was when we're checking in, I'm at the front desk, and the clerk said, now there'll be no writing on the walls, no graffiti, none. And I'm going, what kind of bands are you all used to having here? It was, yeah. So that was I think we endured for at least a week. I don't know how we did it, but we learned a lot of stuff real quick, stuff that we had played at one time and just threw it together just to, get them some dance music. And we did do a few of our medleys from our shows and all, but it was, not a good time. Most of the time we played pretty good rooms. They were, as long as we were able to do the shows, and that's what we wanted, so.
We played a room in San Diego. It's called Dirty Dan's. We were the last band to play there before they turned it into a topless bar. but we get there and we find out they're in transition.
Oh no. So it was a trainee topless bar, huh?
We're playing and they're doing wet t-shirt contests. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And I remember one time we were doing something and one of the girls came up on stage and grabbed Rick's microphone. Rick, do you remember that?
No, I forgot.
She grabbed Rick's microphone and started licking it. And he backed off and he didn't want to touch it.
It seems like that would be something you would not forget. I don't know, Rick.
I just remember it to this day as something that I can't forget. I just remember that coming up after the t-shirt contest, she came back up there, grabbed his microphone, and just started licking the microphone. And it was for all these guys out there, they were screaming and yelling, yeah.
That's because there was a lot of antifreeze up there.
Yeah, that could have had something to do with it.
Were you? Did Ruth travel with you, Rick, when you guys were on the road?
No, pretty much that one time she joined me in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
But,
now is that when Steve Hill came up with her?
Yeah, she came up. She and Steve came up together. Yeah. In her car. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember Steve? Rick?
I do.
Yes.
Steve Hill?
Yes.
Sports.
He was one of our biggest fans, and he actually came up there with Ruth, and it was very cool.
Nice.
He was a good friend of the band.
Yeah.
Is he still around?
No, he passed away.
Steve Unshort passed away.
There was a guy like that used to come in and see when Sam and I, when our band morphed into Macadamia from the basic sound of Macadamia, we were playing out the Red Flame, and there was a guy that came in just about every night. His name was Jim Claridge, and really an older guy, but just super guy. He was up there in age already, but he was a true fan. He just would come in night after night and sit there and watch us, and just like the band.
Well, that's I think such a difference of the time. There were true fans, true following, true followers. It's so hard to find that anymore. Yeah. With anybody. I mean, even the bands that are very popular right now, they have a handful, and it's because that handful morphs into more. But to have true following and true followers, those days are hard to find anymore.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Back in the days when we were all playing in the 60s and 70s, and Paul, you certainly played with a lot of bands. I mean, you worked with a lot of groups, and which says a lot about you because you were so good and people really liked you. Back then, I mean, we had so many people that would come out and see us night after night after night. It didn't matter, it just they wanted to be entertained, and I don't know, when do you think that started going the other way? What do you think caused that? People
Discos.
What's
discos?
Yeah. Good point.
Mid-70s disco. The switch to recorded music instead of live music. It was gradual, but kind of inevitable, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that and all the social everything that's available to everybody as it got more and more and more and more, people can watch concerts on their phone, on their computer. They can watch concerts on their TV. They can, the streaming has gone crazy, and then karaoke came to life, which has always been big in Asia. When it came to the United States, it kind of just blossomed. And then, and I can't blame restaurant club owners for getting a quote unquote cheaper form of entertainment. and still making the same money. You know, it's a business decision that they have to make. Now, some of them said, no, live music is my passion. That's the way I want to go. And they've kept it that way. God bless them. You know, but there are those, it is inevitably the bottom line of the dollar. And if they can put a DJ in there, you know, for half or less than the money of putting a live band in there, or put karaoke in there and get businesses to come in or people to come in and have a few drinks, you know, and still spend the same money for less than what a band plays. You know, it's business decisions. I don't say that I like it, but you know, there's so many factors that have happened since that day, you know, but you're right. Back in that day, there was a club on every corner and every club was full.
You're right. And you know, like in Austin where my kids live, you know, you go to 6th Street and you go bar to bar to bar to bar and you hear incredible bands. Back in the day, you know, you were making a fair amount of money, not a lot, but, you know, enough to keep your apartment rent paid. You know, when I was going to school, we played and I could afford to, you know, have an apartment. And these days, like in Austin, I don't know, there's so many musicians that are trying to be discovered, trying to find venues to play. And I'll tell you what, I think I would be safe to say 60 to 70% of those clubs on 6th Street in Austin with really good bands. I mean, you walk by these bands and you'd swear it was Stevie Ray playing up there, you know? I mean, it was just really good stuff, you know? And I think a lot of it is that because there's an oversaturation of musicians that want to play and be discovered, that they're willing to play for free just to get their name out there and be known, you know, get discovered. And the bar owners know that. So they're if you're getting, you know, $50 a night, you're lucky, you know. And there's many of these players that are still doing it after so many years, and then there's others like Del Castillo and places that are playing some pretty good rooms, you know, but they've got a major following, you know, and so because of that they can do that, you know, and expect to see 200 or 300 people there paying, you know, $10 or $15 to get in to see the show, you know, so and then here comes COVID, you know, and that really sets things back. I guess it does help someone like yourself, though, JT, because you are a one-man show, you know, and it helps you be able to sustain, you know, being a working musician, and you do have, you know, a following, and people are still going to see you, and you're playing good places like Into the Mountain Gods and stuff like that. That certainly you've got a captured audience up there. People want to go out and be entertained.
Well, unfortunately, with the Inn, like you say, here comes COVID. You know, I lost 4 months worth of contracts there, and they're still not doing lounge entertainment.
Wow.
They've just started doing concerts again, bringing in name acts, but they're still not doing either one of the lounges, not doing entertainment there still. I call them invariably once a month. What's happening? Where you going? They still don't know. Everything's up in the air with that. But I am fortunate enough and took it on myself to put together, you know, a thing of where I do the one-man show. I don't do backing tracks. I don't do anything like that. It's just me. Everything you hear is me. You know, I use a couple of toys, but also I forced myself to go in different genres music-wise, where I can play the wineries, or I can play a more rock type bar and play what they want to play. It's my versions of it.
Sure.
It's acoustic versions of that, you know, but you know, I was able to morph myself and be able to do some of that stuff. You know, now some for me are more fun than others. You know,
yeah.
Some of them I got to go in, and if I'm playing certain types of music that I don't want to say I don't want to play, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
But I can get work out of it. And sometimes, you know, I just turned, 71 recently. My hands are still working, my voice is still working. And I told my wife, as long as I can still do that, and make some music, and I can see people smiling, their toes tapping because I'm playing for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's for me to keep myself playing. But if I see somebody smiling and singing along, that's the payoff right there.
There you go. Good point.
That's the payoff.
Now, Rick, you're working, as you said earlier, with Rod Crosby, the legendary Rod Crosby and the Intruders. You guys obviously aren't playing, every week or every month for that matter, but you are playing, a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year with the reunion shows and the whole hog and stuff like that, right?
Well, and Rod's really pretty much sticking to his price, so we play for good money, but we don't play as often, we will do a high school 50-year reunion or some big production outdoor festival kind of thing where they have some money to spend, and then the rest of the time, we take time off, and when we have a good gig coming up, we'll get together and practice a month or so ahead of time, and the rest of the time we're just emailing each other now and then and trading jokes.
Yeah, the one of the reunions that you've got coming up is for Austin High School's 55, and that's my wife's. And we've already sent in our $200, but we're probably not going to be there because of the COVID. We're still kind of antsy about that because we're both immunocompromised. So we just can't take the chance. But we still wanted to support it because I know they're needing the money to pay for the Intruders, and so we've already paid. But we're already planning on staying home. I've got a cousin that is having his 70th birthday party this Saturday at Gabriel's. My cousin, his sister, is coming in from Denver to throw a little dinner for his party or for his birthday, and we're not even going to go to that, because we're too antsy about this COVID thing, man. I've lost too many friends. We've lost friends and relatives to it, so we just can't take the chance,
I understand.
It's our world. I don't like it, but I do like living. So
Yeah, I understand.
It's better,
right?
It's better than the alternative, I just not ready to hang it up yet.
Well, at least we're live right now.
Yeah, we're all alive and kicking and sitting upright and doing a podcast.
There you go.
So, well, I'm getting close to the end of this thing, guys. I really appreciate you all coming on with me and talking a little bit about Westwind and the old days. And I'm glad to see you all are still playing and everything, getting it done, and keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great being able to talk to all the guys and hear all the guys again. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It was fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa. You're yelling.
What? Oh, I thought a bat was attacking you or something there.
Yeah.
Well,
my wife came in and scared me.
You're scaring me.
Go easy on him, Kathy.
She can't hear you. I'm wearing headphones.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up, but thank you for doing this, and let's stay in touch, okay? But it's been a lot of fun.
Only by phone.
Y'all have a great week.
You too.
You too. Take care, y'all.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Bye-bye. Thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank the El Paso History Radio Show, Jackson Polk and Melissa Sargent, for their continued support. You can hear their show every Saturday morning on KTSM 690 AM at 10 a.m. or live streaming on Barbara Given Bainey's Remembering El Paso Win on Facebook. I'd also like to thank KINT98.com for airing our shows every Thursday night at 9 p.m. To hear all of our shows, you can go to TalkandRockRadio.com and scroll to all of the episodes 24/7. This is Rick Kern bidding you farewell till next time.